liberty. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thanks a lot for joining us here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. Hope your day's off to a good start. The week is starting to wind down here on this Thursday, August 22nd. Tons and tons to get to. Man, where do we start? Of course, Mike Roberts, the big news of the last day or so, expected to be named as the latest assistant basketball coach on Archie Miller's staff at Indiana University. Former player Mike Roberts from the early 2000s, graduated in 2005, was a member of the 2002 Final Four team. We'll talk about that on the program with former teammate Tom Coverdale, one of the leaders on that program. Also on today, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. Looking forward to that as always. Plenty to talk to. The IU quarterback situation also, we have not gotten official word on that yet, but I'm going with Michael Penix. I got a Buffalo's bet on that. I've got 2 on it now, so I'm very happy. So I'm looking forward to getting 2 free meals at Buffalo's. I said yesterday, the only thing better than a Buffalo's meal is a free Buffalo's meal. But it seems that that is the direction we're heading. The last day at least, that we were allowed into preseason camp, saw Michael Penix taking the snaps at 1, and that's one of the things that Coach Allen had said as they go down these last few days, they would be heading in that direction. So thinking they may make the announcement on Monday. That's the first of Indiana's regularly scheduled Monday press conferences during the football season. So expect to see that on Monday because that's the last chance they have before the game. As Indiana will kick it off against Ball State up at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis a week from this Saturday. High noon. Looking forward to unleashing this Indiana offense that I'm pretty high on, man. I'm pretty bullish on this offense. It'll take a few games to get all the kinks worked out, I'd say, but I think it's going to be something. Last night, the men's soccer program was up at Westfield again at an exhibition match. Number 2 Indiana taking on number 14 Louisville Cardinals. Didn't go well for Indiana last night. They lose that one 2-1. Aaron was up there. He said he's slightly concerned about goalie. I've seen Sean Caulfield play 3 times. He's never looked great in his mind. Louisville's first goal came and Caulfield came way too far out of the box, and the Cardinals scored by simply running past him on a counterattack. Sounds like some learning going on, but Indiana's been spoiled with Trey Muse the last couple of years. Outside of that, the team will not miss a beat, and Josh Penn, playing for the first time, only played a half and didn't score, but his speed up front gave the Cardinals fits all game. The team looks elite still and can play with anyone. Defense really looks good, and neither goal was their fault. Well, that's good news from the early part of the season. I mean, that's what exhibition games are for. And just like Indiana's regular season, they don't shy away from big games, not even in exhibition matches. Louisville is one of the top programs in the country. Of course, Indiana's one of the bigger programs in the country, but yeah, it's man. When you got an All-American type in goal for the couple of years, you get a little spoiled. I'm sure they'll get that worked out. Speaking of soccer, the women's soccer program, they travel. They're down in Chapel Hill as they'll take on the number 1 ranked North Carolina Tar Heels tonight. So we wish them luck as they Coach Edward Van Bennekom kicks things off in his era. We wish them the best of luck. But there's just a lot going on, man. one of the things that something I like to mention that I'm working on. If you or you know somebody who has tickets to IU games, football or basketball, we're going to start a ticket program, but not for just regular fans. This is for a special charity here in Bloomington. I'm not going to name it yet because we haven't finalized it, but it's a well-known charity, and it involves kids. So if you or you know of anyone who has tickets, if you're not going to use them for a game, we would love for you to make those available to us. We'll have all the complete information before you would have to do that. I mean, I will announce who that charity is, but just until we meet and get everything hashed out, I don't want to throw them out there, necessarily throw them under the bus. Last night in baseball, man, the Cubs and the Giants. Did you watch that game? Most people probably didn't. It was late. I shouldn't have watched that game. It was like 12:30 when it got over. They're playing in San Francisco. No, they weren't. They were in Chicago. Anyway, 12-11. Cubs beat the Giants. Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. Schwartz, he got on late with a fielder's choice. Almost scored again. He hustled, man. He was on second and a single. He got called out at home. But prior to that, he had one of Chicago scored 6 times, all on 2-run home runs. 6 2-run home runs. Schwartz had one of them. So he took one opposite field. I can't remember. I heard how many that is for him, and I don't recall right now, but that was a back and forth game, man. It had just everything you'd want. Excitement. Thomas Bryant is hosting his inaugural basketball camp in his hometown of Rochester, New York this weekend. Wish him the best of luck on that as he has fun. Looking forward to having Tom Coverdale on today. Tommy joins us from time to time, and he was a teammate with Mike Roberts. Indiana's apparent new assistant coach. It's just not been named officially yet. I'm sure they might wait till next week to do that. I don't know. It's a long time to wait with this out here riding around, but who knows? They don't mean it doesn't matter to them. They've got him. They've got their guy. A lot of thoughts on it. We'll get yours. Let us know what you think. Tim texts in, can he be the charity? Well, that's a good question, Tim. Smart thinking. I like it. I like where your head is. But no, you can't be the charity. Not just kidding. No, but you can sure help out. If you know anyone that has tickets to games, let us know. We would certainly greatly appreciate that. You'll when I name the charity, you'll be completely fine with it. Trust me, it's about kids, so that's all that matters. Love to, and then if we can get enough per game, I'd love to get like 6 sets per game, and have 6 kids out there, and do a tailgate, give them the whole game day experience. So put that in your thinker cap, spread that out. You know anybody that has tickets, put that in their mind. They cannot sell them for one game. It's not going to kill them. They can write it off. You can write it off. We'll give you a letter. We'll give you a letter, and you can write that off on your taxes. So there you go. It's a win-win. Win-win. But we'd sure appreciate it. I know the kids would appreciate it. Looking forward to for doing that. Larry sent us a text in. Larry from Bloomington. I trust Archie's judgment. Believe Mike Roberts has been thoroughly vetted and comes highly recommended. Winning basketball games will cure any recruiting ills. Well, you're not lying there. Winning cures all, my friend, and you hit the nail on the head, Larry. Yeah, winning cures everything. Winning cures everything. But they're going to have to start doing a lot of that because, here's the thing about Hoosier Nation. They're greatly supportive, rabid fans, but a lot of them don't want to hear truth sometimes. Truth hurts, man. But unfortunately, this is a news show, and facts are facts. But winning cures it all, man. If you win, if you win it, they will come. It's pretty simple. This season will be a stiff test for Archie. He's going to have to win. He has to win this year, or things are going to beginning to go south for him. But don't want to go there. We'll let that play out, of course. So, but Mike Roberts is, there's a lot of opinions on that hire. I think that's the best guy Archie could get. I'll leave that at that. I don't know whether he's going to be good, bad, there, other. Because there's no way to predict. He could come in and kill it. Speaking of Mike Roberts, he could come in and kill it. So there's no way to predict that he's going to be bad. So, and I think the biggest thing is a lot of people were looking for his big recruiting hire, national recruiting hire. It didn't work out. They tried to go that route. And that's another thing. They did try to go that route. They were turned down. I mean, there's no point in lying. They were turned down by the guy that their first choice. But from all accounts, Mike Roberts is a very, very IU enthusiastic person. It's going to be ironic looking at him on the sidelines with Archie. He's 6'9" and 5'10". But he's a very defensive-minded cat, so he had a grad year under Bob Knight out in Texas Tech once he graduated. He's bounced around. He's been with the head coach he's about to leave. I think it's Wes Miller at UNC Greensboro. He was with him at Rice as well. He also spent a couple of years at Cal. But they've been out at UNC Greensboro for like 8 years, I think. But he certainly seems to have the get up, and I think that nothing will blow that out more than when he comes to Indiana. But here's the thing I wonder about again. If you have something that has issues that need to be fixed, do you fix those? Or have you fixed those? For Indiana, they don't have problems recruiting within the state. They have problems recruiting outside of the state. They're 0 for whatever. However many offers they've made under Archie, they're 0 for. So, is that cured? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But again, like Larry said, winning cures that, as it does. Hey, we got a lot coming up on the show today, man. Tom Coverdale, former player, remember that 2002 Final Four team. He's been with us a few times. Appreciate Tom always coming on the show. Mike DeCourcy, senior writer from the Sporting News. Mike's with us as well frequently. Appreciate both those guys coming on. We got plenty to get to, man. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Silver. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that the weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by readers of Bloomington Herald Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Hoosier basketball player Nick Zeisloff. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always. Hey, don't forget, this Saturday out at Wilkinson Hall, they're going to bust it out. Oh, kind of a grand opening. It's a scrimmage, but IU women's volleyball, cream and crimson scrimmage. I think the doors open at 5:36, but the game's at 7, I believe. And the first 500 people, free ice cream. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. But that joint's going to rock this year, man. It is going to rock this year. Had the opportunity to hang out with Coach Steve Aird quite frequently. Get to talk to him about the season and what's going on. He's man, he's got it going on. Let's just say that. You can tell he's got talent coming in, and it's kind of like a Tom Allen situation, but they're completely different types of people. But you can see the palpable change in the program. They're just without a doubt. It just is. You see talent, but they're all on the same page. They all talk about his energy. About half of them, you ask them why they came there, and that's boom. That's the first thing out of their mouth. Oh, Coach Steve Aird, his energy. Talk about how it's just exactly what they're looking for. And that matters. It matters on the football field as you see what's going on with Tom Allen and that program. I mean, that's palpable. Without a doubt. I'm trying to find the clip I ran yesterday, but for some reason, it's not coming up. Did it get deleted somehow? I don't know how that's possible. Regardless, I know where I can find it.
Is this your official kickoff for Wilkins?
Oh.
Coach, we've talked a lot about the upcoming season, a lot of things going into it. School's about to start. You got all that moving in. You've got the students, your players across the street, which is helpful. And of course, this weekend, your scrimmage, a lot going on there. It really kicks it off officially.
We're hosting the Cream and Crimson scrimmage. Doors open 5:30ish, 6 o'clock. We're going to do a meet and greet, autographs. Kind of unique to meet with the team and coaches and stuff before we actually play the match, not on the back end. We're asking people to bring that might be my computer, sorry. Asking people to bring a canned good to the event, just something we talk about a lot and trying to give back with the community and have the program be grateful for the opportunity to have everyone come out and check it out. So we had a huge crowd last year at Assembly Hall. And we think this year's crowd will be bigger. But the good news is parking's great. First 500 people are going to get free ice cream. Concessions are open. Bathrooms are good. Everything about the new building is pretty awesome. So we're excited about hosting.
Yeah. There was Coach Steve Aird. We'll hear more from him Friday. But scrimmage Saturday set, Wilkinson Hall. You heard him. 5:30, 6 o'clock. Doors open. They get a meet and greet beforehand. That's great for all the younger kids, the volleyball players and whatnot. They get to talk to these players and meet them. I remember being a kid, man. I didn't get to meet college players like that. That was just cool. So they just got a lot going on. It's going to be pumping. It's going to be jamming. But we'll hear more from Steve this week. But don't forget that scrimmage this Saturday out at Wilkinson Hall as the texts continue to come in. We appreciate them. Let's go. I am pumped for Coach Roberts. Great track record at UNC Greensboro, and our 81-87 teams both had former IU players as an assistant. I don't know who that is. You send me a name next time. We'll give you that shout out. But we appreciate the text. And then Tim also texted in. I read where Mike Roberts was a walk-on. More than likely, I didn't even dig that far. He scored a grand total of 80 points in his entire career, so that would probably be so, yes. Regardless of which, I have not read anything about Roberts recruiting, only coaching players to NBA and for Team All-Americans. But yeah, like I said, that's going to work. We'll see. It's just it's here. It's done. That's the situation. So it is what it is. Now we'll have to see how that works out. What does he add to the program? That's going to be the question. What does Mike Roberts bring to this program? Does he help cure any of the ills they currently have? And those being an inability to recruit on the national scene. They cannot recruit kids from outside of the state. That goes back to what Larry said earlier. Winning cures everything. It's about winning. You can't lose 12 games in a row and have kids that don't live in Indiana, don't care about Indiana, look at that and go, yeah, I want to be a part of that. That's just a fact. So many of Hoosier Nation, they live on the Bob Knight times and those banners that are hanging, which is great. But the kids that are being recruited today were not alive when those banners were hung. They were not alive when Bob Knight roamed the sidelines at Assembly Hall. So they don't have that. They don't have that love for Indiana. That's where I don't think people get it. A kid from New York does not have that love for Assembly Hall. Never been there. He couldn't care less. What they know is what they see today. So that's why Indiana is not faring well on the national scene. So will this hire help that? We'll see. This team has not been a very good shooting team. Will this hire help that? I mean, that's to me how you have to look at it. You have deficiencies, you have needs. Have you met or done something to cure those ills? And that, of course, is something we'll have to find out now. I'm not prejudging. No reason to. I can't predict the future. Like I said, he could just freaking kill it, man. He could be what they need. Maybe this team did not have chemistry. Maybe he helps with that. This team did not have toughness. I'm sorry, but I thought they've been very, very, very soft. I don't think that's the type of player that Mike Roberts is. He was not a soft player. So maybe he helps with that, which in turn helps with something else. We'll see. I mean, and you're going to have to wait and see. There's no anybody that's prejudging now. Yeah, it's pointless because the ship has left the dock, boys. We got to let her set sail. But don't forget about that scrimmage at the volleyball on Saturday. Hey, we got Tom Coverdale coming up next. Stay tuned. We're back with more at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with more right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell, shouting Hoosiers like many other much people in my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
You don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitter is gold.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyer here with you as always. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on, and one of our favorites, former Indiana basketball player, one of the toughest to play the game for the Hoosiers, Tom Coverdale. Tommy, how are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great, man. Appreciate you as always. How's your summer going?
Oh, it's going. Just busy with 2-year-old twins and work, so it doesn't get much better than that, right?
I'm telling you, man, 2-year-olds that's got to be the busiest job of a human's life, is to care for 2-year-olds in that that span.
It's still tolerable right now because they have an opinion, but you can correct them. But I'm sure when it gets older, it's going to be, especially if they take after my attitude, it's going to be a nightmare.
That sounds, and was that Bob Knight's mantra? They have an attitude, but you can correct it.
Exactly. You can kind of change it and mold it right now, but it's only going to get worse when they get to become teenagers.
Oh man, it's fun times. And now, it's so funny because right now is move-in time in Bloomington at IU. All these kids, golly, they're everywhere. Like ants, but moving in, and I'm laughing because I have a 16-year-old daughter who yesterday she was 2 years old. So look forward to moving your kids into IU in a year or two.
Yeah, that was always the funnest part of the year, though, when you're an upperclassman, is just driving around campus on those days. But I'm definitely not looking forward to the day. Yeah, I mean, you're in the middle and the thick of it with a 16-year-old.
Yeah, well, she's a great one. Looking forward to it. So happy about that. But big news on the Indiana basketball side. One of your former teammates, Mike Roberts, is expected to be named the next assistant at Indiana. And he's known by a lot of people because he was on that great team that the run you guys made. AJ Moye was on there and went to the Final Four. But he's someone who's not kind of been out of the limelight, not really been known for a while, so it was a little bit of a surprise. But what are your thoughts on Mike Roberts? I know you think highly of him.
Yeah, he is still to this day one of my closest friends from college. We roomed together for 2 years, my junior and senior year, actually, in college, and you are not going to find a better guy in the world. He was a great teammate, great guy. But also in his basketball career, we have talked a lot throughout his whole career. We kind of took similar paths as well. I think a lot of people don't know. When I went to that prep school in New Hampshire, he came in the year after me and went to that same prep school the year after me. So we had similar paths, and then he came up and obviously was on scholarship at IU. We roomed together. He didn't have the career he wanted to, but still an extremely hard worker when he was in college. And then just having conversations with him, I know, he is a great coach when it comes to big men and a great recruiter. So I think he's going to bring that mindset, that Indiana mindset of, bringing it back to what, it meant to him as a player. And I think that's going to be a big success for Indiana.
Well, I was reading an article that was written in 2014 when he actually came back here with the team he was coaching with, and the head coach at the time was lamenting the fact that he drug him out because it was the middle of the winter. And if you know anything about Bloomington, the winters suck. It gets cold, but he was lamenting the fact that Roberts drug him out all over basically the square, pointing out, well, this is the restaurant I used to eat here. We used to go here. And he's like, man, I was done. But he was just wanting to show Bloomington off and just talked about having great pride in his time in Indiana. And that's definitely something that seems to have been lacking with not really an IU connection here of late, but that solves that issue. But I guess the bigger issue is on the national recruiting scene for Indiana. Archie Miller has done well within the state, but they just haven't fared well outside of the state. And I pointed out earlier that, these kids that they're recruiting, they weren't born when you and Mike Roberts were roaming the sidelines and doing those things. And it's going to take a different thing and someone maybe like Mike Roberts to change that mindset.
Yeah, and I've said this to some of my friends before in the past. If you kind of look at it, and you hit on it, the point exactly. I mean, the last time Indiana was in a Final Four, the kids that were coming up now were, either not born or that are being recruited now, or they were like 1 or 2 years old and have no memory of IU having that success. So the longer it goes as a program like Indiana, the harder it is to recruit. So when you have assistant coaches, like, we have a lot of great assistant coaches, like Bruiser and people like that. But if they don't have the background and can speak to experiences on, when it was those days and how the program and the pride in the program, I think everybody from an outside looks at Indiana as a great, blue blood program. But if you have that experience, I think it's hard to connect with kids that don't have the connection and the memories that we did when we were being recruited, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. One of the things I noticed on this team, and this is, I guess, my opinion really, but I don't think that these last couple of years that they've shown much toughness at all. I mean, I think I don't have to go any further than the guest that I'm talking to right now in 2002, when you just gritted through all that you had to do to get out there. I haven't seen that kind of toughness from these kids the last couple of years. I know part of it is it's a different era, man. Kids are not quite the same as they were, but in sports that usually doesn't deviate too much, but it just hasn't seemed to be there. Is that something that Mike Roberts can bring to this program, that toughness that we used to see in Assembly Hall?
Oh, 100%. He's got a fire in him, and we used to always say when he gets mad, do not mess with Mike. So he has got that fire in him to where, and just talking with him and his head coach, who actually went to that prep school too, that he was with, Wes Miller, who played at North Carolina. They told me stories about how he's get after it and get after players and motivate them and not afraid to get on them. And I think that's what they need. So, he is definitely going to bring that fire. And I think he's a guy that can't really contain it either. So you're going to see that on the bench as well, his intensity and how into the game he is and how much it means to him. So I think that Indiana fans, when they see that, and trying to get the players to do that, more importantly, he's going to be one that's going to have a chance to do that.
Another thing that I think has been missing from these teams is chemistry. They just haven't seemed like they were in sync with each other. How can a coach alter that and change that and help cure that?
I think it's just the type of kids you recruit and then the culture you create inside the building. A big thing is, I'm not there on a daily basis, so I don't know, but I think it starts from the top. And I don't know Romeo Langford or anything like that, but what I can say about what made our team so great is if you look at the best player on every team, and he's the hardest working team, it's going to filter down because the rest of the team doesn't think he's given or handed stuff. And that's a perfect example. When Jared Jeffries came in, who was our best player, he worked harder, if not the same as every other person in conditioning. He was winning all the sprints. Not needless to say, he was more athletic than everybody, but just an absolute freak when it came to working and defense. And that set the tone for the whole team. So I think from a culture standpoint and a coaching staff standpoint, you have to have your top 2 or 3 players be the hardest working on your team, and then that's going to filter down. And I think that's part of the problem moving forward. I think Romeo's a great player and obviously talented, but not one person or fan can look in that team and say he was the hardest worker on that team. So I think that's a big problem of it moving forward.
Yeah, like I said, it's a different era sometimes with kids, but in sports, that generally doesn't change that much because it's all about winning, and to win, you have to give it all. So I understand completely what you're saying. One of the things that I've read about Mike is that he's really been known to be a good teacher. And that, of course, always translates well if you can get that accomplished, because fundamentally, there's also been some things lacking these last couple teams. Shooting, for one thing. I mean, that's something you guys didn't lack, but it's not because it just came to you. I assume you worked your butt off to get to that point, but shooting has been woeful here in the last couple of years. Even free throw shooting hasn't been that great.
Yeah, and I think as far as a teacher, what makes Mike such a great teacher, and obviously I haven't been next to him from a coaching standpoint, but I saw how he was as a player and even helping us out, is just he's a tremendous communicator. And what I mean about that is you can have all the basketball knowledge in the world, but if you can't say it to a teammate or a kid in the right way, and it's just going to go in one year and out the other, it's not going to work. And he knows how to communicate with people. And that just goes to show, like, every single person that he came in contact with that I knew in college absolutely loved Mike, because he's genuine, he's not fake, and he communicates really well, and there's no BS with him. You know what I mean? So I think that's related into his coaching, from, hanging out with him and his head coach before. And that's what he's going to relate and bring to these players. They're going to not have a respect level for him, but then also kind of a brotherhood and trust that I think you need with an assistant coach.
I think back when Bob Knight was here, he was 6'6". He was a big guy. He was an imposing guy, simply walking into the room without saying a word. Mike Roberts is like that, except for he's bigger.
Yeah, he is. He is a tall guy. He's a thick guy, and he's I always used to make fun of him. He's got this stare on him, and you'll see it at some point when he gets pissed off. He has a stare that could shoot through your chest. So, he has an intensity about him, about the game, that's going to shine through with the players, and hopefully, once he gets in there and gets to know everybody, it's gonna show on the court as well.
And having been a former player, how do you think that will translate as far as a positive man? How it will help?
Well, I think it's comes back to his personality. So as an assistant coach, the first thing you got to do is gain the players' respect and trust. And he's going to do that through his communication, and then obviously being a Division I basketball player and at the university and knowing what it's about and what you've got to go through to be successful, but then also his experience as a coach. And then, his knowledge of the game, they're going to know exactly, he knows what he's talking about the first time that he coaches them up. So once you gain that respect, then you can get on them and talk them and motivate them about hard work and intensity and stuff like that. So it goes in different phases. And Mike has all the attributes that you need to build the trust, the communication, and then move it into intensity on the floor.
And I'm fortunate to be around all the IU coaches, and I look at people like Tom Allen, the football coach, like Jeff Mercer, the baseball coach, like Steve Aird, the volleyball coach. All their players, they would run through brick walls for these guys. They are all on the same page. Their teams are all on the same page. They're wanting to they have a common goal, and that is something. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. And I think that's not that these guys haven't wanted to win for Indiana, but it just doesn't seem like they've all been on the same page of late. Is Mike a guy that can bring that together and help solidify a team?
Well, I think he can help, but in all honesty, that mostly comes from the head coach on down. You know what I mean? So you can have all the fire, and I think Archie has this. This is not a knock on him. I think he's just getting the right pieces together and in the right situation. So, and then it trickles down. So I mean, you look at it, and then a big part of it, we've been talking a lot about coaching, but when I say a lot of it's on recruiting, you got to recruit the kids that you don't. It's hard to have to motivate a kid every single day. But if you recruit the kids that have the mindset and the background of a competitive spirit and a fire and an intensity and play with motion, you don't have to coach that every day. And if you have only one or two that you have to motivate and they see 10 other players that have that every day, they're going to step up their game. But it's when you have 6 or 7 that aren't that emotional. And I hate it when people say, well, this player, he's just not an outwardly talker. He's not that emotional. Well, that's ridiculous. You look at a player like Jeff Newton, who we played with, who was, as quiet as anybody, but he still had an intensity and a competitiveness on the floor that matched everybody on the team. So even if you're a quiet player, I mean, like I said, if you have 1 or 2 of those, you can withstand it. So we got to recruit more players like, a Robert Finnessy who has that. Players like that. So, and I think they're getting to that point, and that's all going to relate into the culture and attitude of the team. That's going to build a toughness, and then the coaches can step on it and move it up a notch from there.
Absolutely. And then when a new guy comes in, how do players that are already there, they weren't recruited by him, how hard is it for that coach to integrate in with those existing players?
I don't think it's too hard. I mean, because you have such a long off season. He has from now all through football season, all these workouts, all these gatherings. When especially being a former player and having that instant connection with them, it's not going to take Mike long at all to build rapport with the players.
And you talk about getting the right kind of players here of late. While Indiana has missed on all their national targets, one place they have done well is within the confines of Indiana. And people like Anthony Leal and Trey Galloway, the most recent. You had Armand Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis, but especially like Trey Galloway, he really reminds me of a throwback IU player. He's not necessarily a 5-star. He's not a 5-star, but man, I think this is a guy that's going to do a lot more than people think. I think he's underrated, but those are the kind of kids that I think that are going to help that program succeed.
Yeah, and those are the kind of kids that build culture. I mean, if you have all 5-star kids, and this is just my belief, you have a lot of kids that come in that aren't, think not necessarily that they should be handed everything, but they've been handed everything growing up. And I think a lot of these kids that are fighting and dreamed of playing there, and I don't know if that's the case with him or the kid from Bloomington, but, in-state kids, a lot of them dream of playing there after going to a game. So there's a certain level of intensity and pride that come out on the floor, and that's just part of, you have to have a section of your team that has that so it filters into kids that are from out of state.
And then with coaches, a lot of times a job is a stepping stone, a learning point to get on to someplace else. And I'm not saying it's not going to be this way for Mike Roberts, because I'm sure he wants to be a head coach at some point, but there's no doubt this is a place that he dearly wants to be and is not going to be looking to make any jumps anytime soon.
Oh, 100%. I mean, as an assistant coach, this is like a top spot for him. And, but I do think he'll be a head coach one day. But, again, that's just timing and all that. You never know when that's going to happen. But I think he'll be at Indiana for a long time and be very successful as well.
Well, Tom, how are things going with AAA? I know you work. Is it the insurance division you work in with them?
What was that? I'm sorry.
I know you're with AAA. Is it the insurance division you're with them?
Yeah. So our insurance department, and I'm the director of sales, so I manage our insurance agents in the state of Indiana for that. So, it's going really well. We're growing. Everything's going really good. So I can't complain. So very, very blessed to be here and have the family I have and living around family and friends. So life is very good.
Now, do you get with two twins, especially the 2-year-olds and the family and work and all that, do you get much of an opportunity to get down to Bloomington to check out games?
It's been a couple years, to be honest with you. I usually try to go to one game a year, but the last year I didn't get down to one. I mean, you're getting old when a weeknight game is just off the counter because you would rather watch the second half laying in bed. But yeah, so it's I'm definitely with Mike being there. We'll definitely take our kids down and stay with him a couple nights on the weekends and have a place to stay and have our kids together and stuff like that. So I'm definitely going to try to get down to some games this year.
Well, you can ride around campus and make fun of all the new kids.
Yeah. I mean, well, at least I'll have my kids with me, so I can't really do that.
Tom, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough, man. We always appreciated your visits and look forward to it. We'll check back with you once we get rolling on the season.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. And Indiana got a good one. I'm excited. So
thank you, brother. Appreciate you as much. Tommy Coverdale, former IU basketball player. Thank you, sir. We've got a lot more coming up here. Actually, we're keeping it here, I believe. We've got more to go. But always love having Tom Coverdale on. He's just one of those guys that just tells us what he thinks, and he's honest, and he doesn't give you the PC answers. I love that, man. Just give the real truth, and whatever it is, it is. But there you go. That's a former teammate of Mike Roberts, expected to be named the next assistant coach for Indiana. It's his thoughts on what Indiana is getting. So there you go from that standpoint. And like I said, it is what it is. This is the hire. So you go with that. And now you see what he can do. But I think that obviously he's going to bring some things to the team. Does he bring enough? Well, that's going to be yet to see. And does it solve the needs that they have? Well, we'll have to find out. But he's certainly been through the rigors. He's coached under Bob Knight for a year at Texas Tech as a grad assistant. He's bounced around with Cal. He was at Rice, and now at UNC Greensboro for a while. They've had some success there. They've done well. They've won 20 games, I think, the last 3 years. They've been in either the NCAA or the NIT tournament the last 3 years. So he understands about that next level. And obviously intensity is not something that he's lacking. So if nothing else, that is definitely a bonus because this team has just not had that. I mean, I'm sorry. I've watched them the last year, and my gosh, at some point, I wanted somebody to just get in a fight. Not really, but I'm like, golly, have some fight because I didn't see that. And as you heard from Tom, that's not the kind of player that Mike Roberts was or is or person he is. I mean, he's got – just don't piss him off. So I think that if nothing else, that will go a long way. Toughness is something that you can't manufacture. You kind of have it, and I think it can be instilled, but mostly it's brought out. You have to have that uber competitive nature, and the toughness comes from that. It's born from those fires and those trials, and that's where it comes from. But you've got to have a fire that burns in you. Nobody can give you fire, but they can sure pull it out of you. And that's what a great coach does. They're able to pull that out of you. They're able to pull that performance out of you. They're able to push you to a level that you can't get to on your own. You have to be pushed. So that goes a lot. That's something I think this team can use a whole bunch of. And we'll certainly see if Mike Roberts can to deliver that as he is expected to be named the next assistant coach at Indiana until they make it official. Kind of have to say that. But I would be mortally shocked if that didn't happen at this point. But Jake, where are we on time? We got a couple more minutes. One more minute. Cool. But, lots coming up on this weekend, too. Don't forget. And I mentioned the scrimmage the Indiana volleyball team has Saturday night. Don't forget about that at Wilkinson Hall. It's kind of the grand opening. Steve Aird's program is really kicking things off. First 500 people. Free ice cream. But also Saturday night, you got men's soccer. One more exhibition. I think that's an exhibition game. I think they played DePaul. That's at 8 o'clock there. That's at Bill Armstrong Stadium. So you got that going on. So, man, there's just all kinds of stuff happening this weekend. Looking forward to it all. Can't get to all of it, but looking forward to it. Text in from Tim. If Tommy was right, Wes Miller could have came to IU and brought Roberts with him instead of Archie. Well, yeah, that didn't work. So, but Miller's Miller. There's a whole bunch of Millers, right? It's Miller time. So there we go. But it's also time to go to a break. We've got another rest of the show coming up. On the program today, we got Mike DeCourcy yet to come with us, national senior writer from the Sporting News. So we look forward to talking to him as well, and plenty more. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
Get down, turn around, go to town, boot, scoot, boogie.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is James Blackman Jr., former Indiana Hoosier. Make sure you're keeping up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along. Welcome aboard to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Thursday, August 22nd. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. Looking forward to another great show. Talking to Tom Coverdale, former player, talking about Mike Roberts, the anticipated new assistant coach for Indiana. Mike DeCourcy is going to join us from the Sporting News. So another great program As always, we appreciate you. Keep your texts coming. You guys have been doing a great job today. 812-269-6367. I know a lot of people don't always get the opportunity to listen live. You listen at your leisure, which is great. You can send in texts at any time. Well, I'll get to them. I'll read them the next day, respond to them. We got one in from Ryan earlier. Thanks a lot, Ryan. We appreciate you, man. Appreciate you very much. Keep them coming. Have a great day. And then, Larry also, Tim. Keep them coming, man. We'll get to them no matter when you send them. I'll keep them and read them, but appreciate that. Lots going on. Soccer last night. Indiana up in Westfield taking on Louisville. Number 2 Indiana taking on number 14 Louisville. Didn't work out the best for Indiana. They lose that game 2-1. Talking to Aaron. Aaron gave us a beautiful report talking about that the biggest – scare for him seems to be in the goalie position, which is it's an area where Indiana's been spoiled the last couple of years. When you have a guy like Trey Muse, he's just automatic. But let's get back to that. His concern was a goalie. I've seen Sean Caulfield play 3 times, never looked great in his mind. Louisville's first goal came when Caulfield came way too far out of the box. Cardinals scored by running past him on a counterattack. Outside of that, the team will not miss a beat. Josh Penn playing for the first time, only played a half and did the score, but his speed up front gave the Cardinals fits all game. Teams look elite. Still can play with anyone. Defense looks good, and neither goal was their fault. Well, that's great news to have in the preseason because the preseason is when you make your mistakes, when you're getting things together. And this team, they got a lot of new faces, more than normal. I remember when I've talked to Coach Yeagley some this year. It's more than you'd like to have, but it is what it is. He had so many guys leave because they went pro. That's what happens when you have that much talent. So got to get that blended in. They'll get it together. And even when I talked to Coach Yeagley, he talked about that number 2 ranking being a little generous with them. And that tends to happen when you have programs like Indiana that is just good year in and year out. You expect them to be good year in, year out. And they will be really good again. Just got a lot of new faces to get welded in there. So we'll see how that goes. Also, let's see, the volleyball scrimmage on Saturday. That's at 6, I believe. Coach Steve Aird. Free ice cream for the first 500 people, man. Check it out. He's first kind of blow up in the new grand opening of Wilkinson Hall. That joint's going to be jumping this year. And not only that, that program is going to be jumping. You know, I mentioned earlier, I was in a conversation that there's several coaches that, you know, I'm great fortune to be around, but coaches like Tom Allen who are changing the face of a program. And I truly believe he is changing the face of Indiana football, but he's doing it the right way. He's not taking corners, not cheating. He's not getting JUCO players, 10, 12 JUCO players. He's building it through recruiting and through recruiting channels that he's developed. You got Jeff Mercer, the baseball coach, doing the same thing. You've got people in place like Todd Yeagley, who's been doing that for years and continued to do that. Steve Aird is another new one, going into his second season as a volleyball coach. That program is going to be a nationally renowned program within 5 years. I mean, sooner than that, but I'm just saying 5 years from now, you're going to like, wow, man, they sure got here fast. Angel Escobedo's new wrestling coach, former national champion for Indiana. A lot of stuff to look forward to this year. So, of course, the big news, Mike Roberts anticipating being the next newest assistant coach for Archie Miller and Indiana basketball program, currently at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro, but he's a former player, played with Tom Coverdale on that 2002 Final Four team, Jared Jeffries, A.J. Moye. That was a team full of grit. I mean, grit, to steal Tom Allen's word for the season. They had moxie, man. They had chemistry, but they had determination. I got news for you. That team is not a team that anybody in the free world expected to go to the national championship game in 2002, on top of the fact that Mike Davis was their coach. But they did, and not only did they beat number one defending champion Duke along the way. So it takes that. I think that's one thing that I think that if nothing else, which I'm not saying is that there's not tons more to be brought, but at the very least, Mike Roberts is going to bring a different spin on effort. You looked at these teams the last couple of years, it's been, where's the effort? Where's the effort? That's been a thought. It really has been, and not a quiet thought either. Where's the toughness? Where's the fight? Where's the determination? I haven't seen that. Part of that's in the players that you recruit. Players like Trey Galloway, who will be that way. So, all kinds of stuff going on. I talked about the men's soccer team earlier, about that game they had. They also have a game Saturday night. I don't want to forget that. That's 8 o'clock at Bill Armstrong Stadium. Former basketball player Thomas Bryant, he's hosting his inaugural basketball camp, but it's in Rochester, New York, so you have to travel to get there. Sorry, Jake. Jake likes to play basketball a lot. Better get your traveling shoes on.
I'll go to Rochester.
That's a hike. Rochester. The Cubs and the Giants last night. Did you see that game? Man, I shouldn't have. It was way too late. But it was an entertaining game. 12-11, the Cubs win. Cubs win. Cubs win. 6 two-run home runs fueled the victory by the Cubs. Schwarber tried to change that. He got on base late with I think it was the 8th inning. He got on with a fielder's choice. Went to second on a pass ball. Then there was the single. He was trucking it, man. He tried to get home and scored. It was close enough that they went to the review, but he got called out. But Schwarber was getting it. But he had a 2-run homer last night. Baseball. So that was a fun game to watch. Fun game to watch. Hey, make sure you hit us up on the text line. The guys have been great today hitting us up. Ryan, Larry, Tim. 812-269-6367. 812-269-6367. You can text it any time. I know for those of us that get to listen to us live on radio or live online, either way, we're grateful. But a lot of people, most people probably don't get that chance and listen at their leisure when it's rebroadcast as a podcast. You can still text in. If you're listening to us now and it's much later than it is right now, how is that possible? But, you comment, question, shoot them in, man. I'll get to them the next broadcast. And give me if you're new, give me a first name just so I can know who it is and have a reference point for that. Football, they're up in Indianapolis today at Lucas Oil Stadium with a walkthrough. I'm not going. Kylie has a soccer game tonight, and I'm heading south to check that out. But it's kind of just a walkthrough up in Lucas Oil as they head into next week's kickoff against Ball State up at Lucas Oil. I expect Monday the announcement to come that Michael Penix will be the starting quarterback for Indiana, ending a fall arms race. Ooh, how you like that? Arms race. Get it? Ooh, I like that. Jake's nodding in approval. But the big question, man, a lot of people was wondering. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that Michael Penix was the guy that should be starting. I thought that last year. But it wasn't easy. I mean, I watched all of camp. I mean, Peyton Ramsey didn't make it easy. Peyton Ramsey's a solid quarterback. He's an amazing backup quarterback. Michael Penix just has a little something extra. It's not a knock on Peyton. It's just, he's just got something extra. He can throw the ball from here to he can throw it from here to Lucas Oil. So we'll see how that translates, if that comes to be. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But I think that announcement will come Monday. Monday is the first of what will be Indiana's regular scheduled press conferences throughout the football season, as we'll cover that each and every Monday like we have since day one. And you know what? Before I forget, Man, sometime in November, I got to go back and start figuring it out. But we're going to be reaching an epic milestone for us. Episode 500 is coming, I believe, in November. I'm going to have to, like I said, go start counting. I may have to use Jake's fingers and toes. I got all of mine are used up. But that should be coming about that time. So looking forward to that. Hit us up on that text line with your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Mike Roberts as the assistant coach? I mean, there's been a lot of opinions, and I'll be honest with you. He wasn't the first choice. They were turned down by somebody, and but you see that a lot if you go back in history and look at things. People weren't always the first choice, and sometimes it works out better than it may have. But there's no way to tell. But all that aside now, it doesn't matter because here is where we are. This is the ship you're on. You may look over there and see another ship, but that looks awful. Now that looks like a lot more fun. Tough. You're not on that ship. You're on this one. So this is the one you gotta ride to the dock. Well, coming up with all kinds of analogies. What's going on with me today, man? Thomas Bryant having his inaugural basketball camp in Rochester. I think I already mentioned that. Women's soccer, they played tonight. I think it's a regular season game. They start their season off down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, taking on the top-ranked Tar Heels. Coach Edwin Van Bennekom, his first season, as he tries to get things turned around. And, the women's soccer program has not matched the success of the men's, which that's not quite fair. I mean, the men have won 8 national championships. But that's something that Coach Van Bennekom is wanting to get that headed in that direction. But there's a lot of you look around. There's a lot of good programs that are on the uptick for Indiana. Like I said, baseball is maintaining their elite status with Jeff Mercer. He's doing a phenomenal job. But I talk a lot about volleyball, and that's a program that's going to get turned around. But we got plenty more to talk about. Another text in from Tim. Do you think Mike Roberts has any connection on recruiting the Carolinas for IU? Yeah. Hell yes. He spent 8 years down there. But, yeah, that's an area that Indiana has never recruited, oddly enough. I don't know how much talent they really produce. Just because you have great colleges don't mean you have great high school. Look at Kentucky. Kentucky does not produce high school talent. How often do they go in between All-Americans? When Indiana doesn't have an All-American, it's a down year. The state of Indiana, I mean. We got a lot more to get to. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News is going to join us next. Stay tuned. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting a team for that post-win in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hey, this is Jordan Halls, former Indiana Hoosier. Keep up with Indiana sports on Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Don't ever set me free. I always want to be by your side.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington. Hope your day is going wonderfully. Jim Coyle with you, as always, joined now by one of the great minds of sports writing for certain, from senior writer from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm great. How are you this morning?
I cannot be. I'd need to be two people if I was any better, Mike. Now that I'm talking to you.
Yeah, it must be bad.
Oh, how's your summer going, man? Summer's about gone. It's about milked away from us.
I will say that in some ways it's been the fastest summer of my life, and they say that happens the older you get. But for me, it's really been a combination of a couple things. One, there was really no springtime in Indiana, at least in central Indiana. I don't know about southern Indiana, but we basically went from winter to like blazing hot, and so there was no time to ease into it. June was, we were in June we were still looking at temperatures in the 60s and cold and rainy, and then all of a sudden it was, we were all on fire, and so it's not exactly been the ideal, but hey, it beats, I guess, 10 degrees below zero, right?
Absolutely. The one good thing I say is the humidity has not been as what I'm accustomed to. I'm from southern Indiana, down by the river, and man, I'm just used to that summers just being terrible, and it hasn't been too bad this year. Yeah.
So I guess the good thing about summer being over is football season starts, and if football starts, that means that hoops isn't far behind.
Absolutely. Both. Looking forward to both of them this football season in Indiana this year. I mean, there's a lot of excitement, which tempered by some with good reason. That usually doesn't last long. But, man, I think this is different. Tom Allen is and the most unlikely of coaches to have been put in that position to do it. But he is really seeming to change the face of this Indiana program. Of course, that has to manifest itself on the field with wins. But, man, the talent he's got and what they're doing, I'm amazed at what the Tom Allen has done.
Really impressive so far. And of course, it's early in the regime, and hopefully it goes well for them. It's difficult in the Big Ten. There's no question about that. Ohio State's been great. Penn State's been great. Michigan has been really strong, although not able to win the biggest games for the most part. And of course on the west side, what Northwestern's been doing has been amazing. I saw a stat my friend Mike Hall from Big Ten Network put on Twitter today, and he said this is a stat that I bet most Big Ten fans don't know, and he was right. I didn't know. 14 out of the last 15 Big Ten games, regular season, Northwestern's won 14-1 in their last 15 regular season games. It's amazing.
It is, because they've also, even though they're in the West Conference, they played teams like Michigan. They play some of these guys, because you put that in there. And the fact that the thing about Northwestern that kills me, and especially when I hear people talk about Indiana, about, oh, well, they've got this culture. Baloney. Northwestern they can only recruit certain guys that are really, really intelligent. So they don't have the pick from as many recruits as most teams do. So anytime they succeed like that, to me, it's even more amazing.
Yeah, Fitzgerald has done an amazing job there, a terrific job, sustaining the improbable success that Gary Barnett brought there in the mid '90s, and of course they've got one of the best athletic directors in the country, in Jim Phillips, and and having that in place, having such a strong administrative function. I mean, that's how you get. Have you seen the practice facility, pictures of the practice facility that Northwestern has built along the lake? I mean, it is just staggeringly beautiful, and that helps attract great players to come to your place.
Absolutely, and a lot of that is from the Big Ten money that now some of these schools are getting, because Illinois just opened up a new $80 million football facility. Purdue just finished theirs up a year or so ago.
Right.
It's making a huge difference in these programs, but I think that's going to make a huge difference in the conference, and it shows how they're kind of investing back in these programs, and it's going to elevate the Big Ten.
Yeah, absolutely, and the Big Ten doesn't have far to go, right? I mean, I think it's hard to. It's hard to match quite the high end of what Alabama's able to do year after year. Not easy to do, but the Big Ten doesn't have to say it's sorry to anybody. It's been a really powerful, strong conference now for many years. But obviously, the last few years, the last 5 or so years, they've been terrific, and it's been disappointing to see with the way the playoff is structured. That the depth of the conference sometimes costs them. It's cost them, the Ohio State loss to Purdue cost them. The Ohio State loss to Iowa a few years ago cost the league overall. I think that part of that comes from the depth that we're talking about. Purdue, Northwestern, they're good football teams, and people look at those games and sneer on the national level. But if you're around here, that they've done really well at building up other programs beyond the showpiece programs.
Absolutely. And one question that brings to mind that everyone always asks is having the Big Ten East like it is that hurting the conference overall in trying to get back to the college football playoffs?
Oh, I think that's beyond doubt. I don't think there's any question about that. Penn State cost Ohio State. Ohio State cost Penn State. Back and forth, and then of course, like I said, having the strong teams that they have in other circumstances. We all watched Iowa a couple of years ago really push Penn State, which was a terrific Penn State team. And then all of a sudden they lose, Ohio State goes out there and loses, and people are all aghast. Well, playing on the road at Iowa in a night game obviously wasn't easier. Penn State would have done better. But it's really the format. It's the ridiculous format of only allowing 4 teams in. When you can have a conference champion of a major conference like the Big Ten or the Big 12 not get in, it's a preposterous format, and it's clearly slanted toward the way the SEC does business. Only playing 8 regular season games, filling in the 9th slot with some Division I AA or FCS, whatever you want to call it, opponent. It's just it's a bad situation, and it needs to be corrected. And hopefully they'll move forward on trying to make an equitable playoff soon.
Yeah, that was my very next point I was going to bring up to you is that 8th versus 9th game. The Big Ten, the only conference that requires their members to play 9 games. Not only is that hurting them in that national race, it hurts teams like Indiana or Purdue or Maryland, whomever, who don't get that 4th non-conference game scheduled like all these teams in the SEC or the ACC or whatever. That makes it a lot easier to become bowl eligible for those teams that are struggling like that as opposed to having to play 9.
If you're going to play 12 games, I mean, why would one of them just basically be a exercise? I mean, you've already got 3 of those. Why the idea that having a 9-game regular season schedule should somehow be a disadvantage? I think it should be viewed as an advantage for the Big Ten. It shows, it's funny because in the NCAA basketball situation, they really talk a lot about strength of schedule, and that really matters. And I think sometimes it matters a little too much. I always say it's not a scheduling competition, it's a basketball competition. But when it comes to football, you play a lot of hard games, and everybody says, "Oh, too bad you played too many hard games." It's ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely. The newest hire expected to happen for Indiana basketball is Mike Roberts. Probably not a name that a lot of people expected. Not one that I thought was on my radar. Former player coming out of UNC Greensboro. Your thoughts on that?
I like it. I like the fact that they're going for somebody who has been a part of a very successful program. I mean, Greensboro was terrific last year. He helped build that. He helped build them to what they were in terms of being an actual, a team that, although they played in the Southern Conference, that was really competing for an NCAA tournament bid, and that made it in 2018 as well. And somebody also, obviously, who is no stranger to Indiana's tradition and culture and ideals and the area. And I think that what they've shown, is that, that they want to sell Indiana players first on being Hoosiers. And they've done that really well so far in the class of 2020. And they've done that as well in their recent classes, getting players like Romeo Langford from down your way, getting Trace Jackson Davis from up closer to Indy. That all has been good. And Mike, Mike is not a Hoosier by birth, so to speak. Well, he is a Hoosier by birth, but he also has, got around a little bit. He's coached at Texas Tech. He played some in high school in Oregon and then in prep school in New Hampshire. So he's been around. So more than likely, I mean, I don't know his circumstance well enough to know for sure, but I would suspect that based on his, the regional variance, that he's built up contacts in a lot of areas through the course of his high school career and then through his time in coaching in the various places he's worked.
And that's something that Indiana can definitely use to mix in with their recent successes within the state of Indiana. That outside of that has not been there so much. But I think one of the biggest things he can bring to this team is toughness, because that's just something I haven't seen from Indiana basketball the last couple of years. It's just toughness and great chemistry. And I think that's been lacking. And he played on some teams that had to have that. They'd had to be tough. They had to be together to win because they weren't the most talented. That 2002 team, I don't know anybody that picked them to be in the national championship game, but they sure got there.
Certainly, I was at the Duke game, and I don't think many people. I think the question then was how many Hoosiers would survive the game. I think that was maybe the question at that point, and they went out and kicked Duke's tail that night. I'll never forget. That's one of the most memorable non-Final Four games that I've covered. Mike Davis turning around to me and Andy Katz sitting on press row looking up at us and saying, "We're going to win this game." Andy and I were sitting there going, "What?" And I mean, it was like halfway through the game or halfway through the second half or whatever. And he turned around to us and said, "We're going to win this game." And so that, Mike was a part of that. And, And I think you're right. They do need competitive toughness, and they do need cohesion. That's been a real problem for this team. That we saw it twice against Michigan State last year, what they were capable of at their best. The game against Marquette before some of the injuries happened, we saw what they were capable of. But in circumstances where they needed to fight and play together, the Ohio State game in the tournament being the most egregious example of that. He wasn't there, so I think that they do have a long way to go in that department. And I would suspect that based on the success of Greensboro in Mike's time there, that he can help in that regard.
Yeah, I was at that game against Duke in Rupp Arena back in 2002 as well. I gave as a fan, as the only game I ever gave myself a headache from yelling. But I swear I will never forget that. But I wonder what Mike Davis thought when Dane Fife fouled on that 3-pointer that went in at the end of the game. If he still thought they were going to win the game then, but
right.
Yeah, what a great time. But what's coming up next for you, Mike? What do you got coming out?
Well, Sporting News has me working on some NFL stuff as well as some college football stuff. We're going to myself and Bill Bender are going to do. As well as Zach Al-Khatib, our editor, are going to do a weekly list for the 150th anniversary of college football, and the best teams of all time, the best players, the best. I got one done already. The best nicknames, which I had a lot of fun with. Going back all the way to the 20s. And I don't mean the 2020s. I mean the 1920s. To find and some of the cool nicknames in the history of the game that are out there. And I will tell you that we're going to have we have not firmed up our all-time list of the top 10 guys, top 10 players. And I think that's going to be a really interesting debate. I've seen some out there that I have disagreed with passionately. People are already starting to do those. Our top players list probably will not be at one of our first because I think we're gonna wrestle with that one. It's so many great players in the history of college football. It's really hard to whittle it down to 10 guys.
Well, man, as the football season gets underway, I cannot wait to get you back on to talk about that and plenty more. But I can't thank you enough. I always love having you on. A great conversation as always.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. And you can check out my work at TSN Mike on Twitter and at sportingnews.com.
That's where you need to go. Mike DeCourcy from the senior writer from the Sporting News. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you, brother.
Take care.
That's Michael DeCourcy, senior writer for the Sporting News. Make sure you follow him because he always puts out some great stuff. Hey, we got a lot more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios in Bloomington. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana Indiana basketball players.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Hoosier basketball player Nick Zeisloff. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Man, I couldn't tell we're back. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jake going back to the 70s, a little disco action. Must be breaking some records in there. Man, great show it's been today. Tom Coverdale, Mike DeCourcy, both superb guests. Man, there's a Twitter site I found called Inside the Team. And it is apparently run by former Division I athletes. And here of late, they've just had a litany of texts where they have reached out to either players or former players of various football programs. Indiana, Arizona, Alabama, Clemson, all of them. And they get comments on the players about their head coach. And, you know, all the ones about Indiana, read this one. Current Indiana player on Coach Allen. Coach Allen is about as good a man as there is in college football. He has a true compassion and care for all his players. Coach Allen is an incredible coach and mentor. He is always honest with his players and practices what he preaches. There are many, many, many more like that. But unfortunately, that's not how they all are. Trying to find one of, here's perfect. It didn't take long. The second one. Current BC player on Steve Adazio. Coach does not give players a fair shot. Humiliated certain players and uses them as tackling dummies. Picks on players for being hurt. Deprioritizes academics. The point is, it ain't the same everywhere. Everybody doesn't have what Indiana has. And yeah, I know there's people that's going to talk about they need to win. Well, of course they need to win. I say that all the time. I mean, I think Coach Allen is doing an incredible job. I really do. But he's got to win. If he doesn't win, it doesn't matter. But I think he's going to win. I think he's been building this nice new home with a beautiful foundation. So I'm not really concerned about that. But I found that site very. I read just a ton of those last night. 8 current Louisville players have shared their opinions on Scott Satterfield. Players rated Satterfield on a scale of 1 to 5 in 6 categories. In all 6 categories, he averaged above 4.6 stars. Overall average rating of 4.8. I guarantee I'd like to see what they said about Bobby Petrino he may have had the worst. I will guarantee you he would have, if they would have done this, he would have had one of the worst rankings in the history of it all. I'm not going to get on a Louisville thing, but I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I'm just stunned at how he just stood idly by, and watched that program that he had taken to another level. Watch it just crumble away. I mean, crumble away. They were pathetic last year. One of the worst teams, if not the worst team in college football. It's just amazing that a coach could stand by and do that. And then he got $14 million on the way out the damn door. Wow, what a country. Amazing. Amazing stuff. But anyway, lots going on the IU side of things, especially football as we get closer and closer to kickoff. We've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of different coaches here of late. One of those we got to talk to yesterday, Casey Teagarden. Now, the secondary value is thought to be pretty damn good this year. Looking forward to that. Here's what he had to say recently.
You look at like today, so we split up one-on-ones in the red zone, and we took some tight ends and some safeties. But we had Penix throwing to one group and Peyton Ramsey throwing to the other. So you got Peyton Ramsey throwing to the tight ends, which is the group I was with today, and Coach Shelby went with the other group. But you got a guy that can drop the ball on a dime out there, which is great. And I'm sure Mike's doing the exact same thing on the other side. So it's great to have that. Those two guys with the experience that they have, and then obviously Jack as well, coming in, he could sling it out there. It makes us better every day in Skelly because balls are thrown when they need to throw, and our guys got to be able to react and make plays on those receivers. So that's helped a ton. Plus the experience at receiver is awesome. Getting to go up against guys like Nick Westbrook, Donovan Hale, Bob Fillier, those guys, Ty Fryfogel's taking a step forward, Miles Marshall, all those dudes can play, and it's making us better. You'll hear Coach Allen say all the time, Proverbs 27:17, iron sharpens iron. That's not just a saying to us. We fully believe that. Where each piece is a steal, and we got to make each other better.
That was Coach Casey Teagarden, the secondaries coach, talking about how I'd ask him about how much it helps going against this offense. Because this offense, mark my words, it's going to be prolific. But having that to go against, having a very experienced Peyton Ramsey throwing against you, having a superb athlete, Michael Penix, throwing those balls against you, Jack Tuttle as well, man, that's got to make you better. And that's a great thing that now they're able to play off of each other. They're equalizing on both sides of the ball, which that's how you get better. You just heard him, iron sharpens iron. Perfect saying. That's exactly what they're living that. You heard that Coach Teagarden right there say it's not just a saying to us. It's not. They're using it. And it goes the opposite way. You've got a great secondary that makes life difficult for these quarterbacks. That's one of the comments that came out of the scrimmage over the weekend, that their secondary was making life hell for these quarterbacks. That's a good thing. It's a very good thing. That's how you get better. We also had the opportunity to talk to defensive coordinator Kane Womack, and I asked him the same thing. What's it like going against this offense? And it's not as much, as he pointed out, that's a two-pronged thing. So let's hear what
creative ways he gets to
what he had to say.
First off, right, there's two parts of that. One is the personnel, right, and then the other part is the scheme, right? So Kalen, what he does schematically has been phenomenal for us. Obviously, what it's going to be in the season, right, because we don't have to deal with it, other people do. But for us to be able to see all those different looks and the multiplicity of what he's doing and the creative ways he gets to those things is it's been phenomenal for us. It's changed us as a defense. Then the skill level of our wide receivers, our running backs, tight ends, I think, are probably the most improved position on the team, in my opinion, just looking from an outside in. And then obviously the dynamic quarterbacks, you know what I mean, and their arm talent. So for us, that part has been really good, but cannot overlook the scheme and what that's done for us defensively.
That's defensive coordinator Kane Womack talking about, again, how this offense is helping them to become better. But the thing he pointed out there, and that's what you need to note, he talked about Kalen DeBoer, the new offensive coordinator, and his scheme, how difficult it's going to make things. That is what is going to be noticed most, I think, this season. Besides Michael Penix, forget about all that. It's what Kalen DeBoer is going to do. That's the difference. That's the difference in this offense. It's not that they're coming in and bringing a new offense. They're not bringing in the wing tee or the wishbone or any of that. It's the same offense, tweaked, refined, made better, and made much, much, much more efficient. You've got great talent, and that talent is going to be blended. You heard him talk about the receivers core. My God, Nick Westbrook, Donovan Hale, Ty Freifogel, Walt Phillier, it goes Miles Marshall. They're deep and talented. We've gone on and on about the running backs. Stevie Scott, and it goes down from there. Cole Guest, Ronnie Walker, Samson James, Ivory Winters. They're tough. But they're going to use those running backs in a different way. Not Stevie Scott per se, but they're going. Kalen DeBoer is going to use them out of the backfield. He's going to make life hell on defensive coaches, and he has the talent to do it. Cole Guest looks faster than he did before he injured his knee. You got a solid offensive line. I'm ready. I'm ready for September 7th. I think that's the date. Ohio State. Memorial Stadium. Place will be jacked, packed, and stacked. It'll be full. And, you know, I've seen some people, some fans on Twitter and whatnot. Indiana's going to beat Ohio State. Indiana's going to beat Ohio State. Well, and that's great. You want to have that enthusiasm. I'm not predicting that. What I am saying is, oh, hell yeah, that's more than that's a possibility. It is a definitive possibility. This is not – we've seen Indiana play those teams tough here of late, but run out of gas. That's not going to be a problem. They got weapons. They're not going to run out of gas. You're catching Ohio State in a transition year in Ryan Day's first year. Kevin Brockway pointed out that when Urban Meyer left Florida, he left with the same talent that he used. But boy, they lost games. They lost a lot of games right afterwards. That transition year, it's not as easy as you think. And I promise you, the Big Ten Conference does not know what Indiana has. Not yet. Not yet.
Defensively.
Tim texted in. Oh, I got to stop it. They're going to stop it. Get out of there. Tim texted into the show that I've already seen people begging for IU versus Ohio State tickets. Nobody is giving them up. That's going to be no freebies there, baby. I hope I can get some for the charity. Speaking of which, I talked earlier in the second hour. Hey, we're going to start doing a ticket program. We've got a charity that we're going to work with. It's kids-oriented. It's well-known. I'll give you the full name once we get the deal ironed out. But if you know of anybody that not using could offer a couple of tickets, we're going to be grateful to you. Parking with would be awesome because this is going to be a kid with an adult, at least one adult. These are going to be very, very deserving kids. I'd love to get at least 6 pairs per game because I would love to do a tailgate for them as well. I want to give them a game day experience, something that they're just normally not going to get an opportunity to do. So I know you know people. I know you have friends, and some of you yourself may have a couple tickets. I'm not going to use these tickets. I know you like to sell them. You don't need to sell them, man. Right, we'll get you a write-off, give you the letter. As a matter of fact, the letter will come not from me, but from the legit charity. You can write that off, so you're not going to lose anything, but you're going to give something to somebody that most of them have probably never experienced. Most of they never experienced. I'm looking forward to doing that, and I'd love to do like the tailgate. That would be so awesome. I've already talked to some of my sponsors. They're in. They're helping. But tickets. We're going to need tickets. And that text from Tim reminds me, tickets are going to get tougher as the season progresses. I am convinced. Last seasons past, those preseason non-conference games, it was embarrassing. I mean, embarrassing. Hoosier Nation, get off your ass. Get to the games. You got beer. You can gamble. Well, you can't gamble on your phone yet, but come September 1st, you can gamble. Have a beer. You don't have to go out. Don't leave at halftime. Keep your ass in the stadium. This team is going to be good. I mean, I feel like I'm doing a commercial for Indiana, and it's not my intention. This ain't a fan page, but I'm bullish on this team. But being around him as much as I have been, I see the dedication they put in. I see what Tom Allen's doing. Get to the stadium, stay in the stadium, but also find some people to give us some tickets for these kids. It's going to get tougher as we go along to the Big Ten Conference games, I know, but we're going to see what we can get done. We'd appreciate your help. Before I forget, let's see. This weekend, I've mentioned soccer plays Saturday night at Armstrong Stadium. That's at 8 o'clock. I think they're playing DePaul. Women's soccer plays University of North Carolina tonight, number 1 North Carolina. Erwin Van Bennekom taking his team. That's a tough way to start, but that's what he wants. He doesn't want the easy route, just like the men's team, man. They're playing Louisville in an exhibition game. An exhibition game, you're playing one of the top teams in the country. That's what Coach Yeagley does. That's why Indiana's won 8 national championships, been to the last back-to-back college cups. That's why. They don't take the easy route. IU volleyball, they've got a scrimmage, the Cream and Crimson scrimmage scheduled for Saturday, opening up Wilkinson Hall. 6 o'clock, doors open, I believe, 5:30, 6 o'clock. There's a meet and greet prior to. If you got kids, pictures, hang out with them, and I scream, you scream. We're all scream for ice cream. First 500 people, Coach Steve Ayers handed out some ice cream for you. Hope he saves one for me. Parking's going to be ample. Concessions open. It's going to be a cool environment, man. That's going to be a rocking place. This is not going to be like, and this is not a knock on an IU basketball, but it's not going to be like an IU basketball game. They're going to rock this joint. Remember back when they had music, DJ Unique, pumping it out? Should still be there, by the way. Hint, hint. That's what it's going to be like at the volleyball. It's going to be a party, a fun party. They're going to start winning. I'm looking forward to that. Have I missed anybody? Man. Trying to hit it all. So much going on. What a great show that we've had today. Got to talk to Tommy Coverdale, former teammate of Mike Roberts, the heir apparent to the number 3 assistant spot on the Indiana basketball team for Archie Miller. Coverdale's bullish behind him. I mean, it's not the hire that a lot of people wanted. But part of that is because Indiana just hasn't had the success that they want them to have. One assistant coach is not going to change that success that quickly. They've got to win games. They have more than enough talent to have not lost 12 games in a row last year. That's an issue that just needs to be fixed, period. That has nothing to do with assistant coaches. You've heard a lot of people talk about things. Starts at the top. Hopefully they can get it all turned around. But looking forward to tomorrow. The Todd Father. He's back. Todd Leary joins us tomorrow. We'll see what else we can scare up. We've got so much. It's been such a great week. I can't even remember. We appreciate you joining us as always, though. We got a lot more coming up tomorrow. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the program today from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat Radio back tomorrow with Todd Leary. Until then, I'm Jim Quayle, and I will see you on the radio.
Got no sense of humor. I'm still laughing like